You know, every single time you click a button, load a page, or submit a form online, you're actually taking part in this silent conversation. It's kind of like a secret language spoken between your browser and a server somewhere out on the web. And in this explainer, we're going to learn the grammar of that language, looking at it through the lens of Express.js.
So, have you ever really stopped to think about it? You click buy now, or like, or send, and boom, magic happens, right? But it's not magic at all. It's actually a super precise, very structured request. So let's pull back that curtain and see what's really going on under the hood.
You know, at its heart, this whole conversation follows a really simple three-step rhythm. First, your browser, that's the client, sends a request. Second, the server gets that request and figures out, okay, what do they want me to do? And third, the server sends a response back. That's it. Request, process, respond. This is the fundamental cycle that powers pretty much everything you do online.
Okay, so for any conversation to make sense, you need verbs, right? You need action words. You can't just shout nouns at somebody and expect them to understand. Well, in the web's language, these action words are called HTTP methods, and they tell the server exactly what kind of action you want to perform. And there are four main verbs that really do most of the heavy lifting: get, post, put, and delete. Each one has a very clear, very distinct purpose. You get data that's already there, you post brand new data, you put changes to existing data, and you delete stuff you don't need anymore. Let's take a closer look at what each one of these lets us do.
First up is get. This is by far the most common verb on the web. I mean, every time you load a web page or look at a friend's profile, you're sending a get request. It's like walking into a library and just asking for a specific book. You're not changing anything, you're not adding anything, you're just retrieving information that's already sitting there. Next up, we've got post. This is how you add something new to the conversation. When you sign up for an account, or you publish a blog post, or upload a photo, that's a post request. You're basically packaging up all this brand new information and asking the server, hey, can you create a new spot for this? But what if you need to change something that's already there? Well, that's where put comes in. Think about editing your profile to update your address, or fixing a typo in a comment you just left. A put request tells the server, hey, remember that thing I made before? Find it, and just replace it completely with this new version I'm sending over.
And finally, we have delete. And yeah, this one is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a direct, and usually permanent, command to the server to get rid of a specific piece of information. When you delete that social media account, or a photo, or an old email, a delete request is what makes it all disappear.
So we've got our verbs: get, post, put, and delete. Now, in the programming world, these actions form a really famous acronym that describes the entire system of managing data. It's called CRUD.
CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. And these really are the four essential functions that pretty much every single data-driven app in the world is built on, from your social media feed all the way to your online banking app. It's literally the life cycle of data.
And this, right here, this is where it all clicks together. Just look at how perfectly our web verbs map to these CRUD operations. To create, we use post. To read, we use get. To update, we use put. And to delete, we use delete. This one-to-one mapping is just this brilliantly simple and logical structure that underpins how almost all modern apps work with data. It's that simple.
Okay, so we know the action we want to take. We want to get something, or maybe delete something. But how does the server know which specific thing we're talking about? How do we point it to the exact user, or the exact photo, or the exact product out of millions?
Well, we do that using parameters right in the URL. And there are two main types. We've got path parameters, which are used to identify one specific required item, and then we have query parameters, which are used to filter, sort, or search through a whole list of items.
So let's break this down. Look at the format. A path parameter is part of the main URL itself, like /users123. That 123 has to be there. The request makes no sense without it. It's basically a street address. But a query parameter comes after a question mark, like in /search $Q = John. It's optional, you could just go to /search, and it's used to add filters to your request.
Path parameters are absolutely essential for creating these dynamic routes. When a developer writes this code, they use a placeholder, you can see it there with the ::ID, to tell the server, hey, expect some unique value in this part of the URL. So, when your browser requests /users/42, the server knows you're asking for that one specific user with the ID of 42.
Query parameters, on the other hand, are all about sending optional extra information. They live after that question mark in the URL. So, a request to search /Q equals John is telling the server, okay, I want to do a search, and the thing I'm searching for is John. This is absolutely perfect for filtering, sorting, or searching through huge collections of data.
All right, so we've totally covered how to ask the question. We've sent our very specific request using the right verb and the right parameters. Now for the last piece of the puzzle. How does the server answer? Let's look at the final step in our conversation, the response.
In Express, there are two main ways a server can talk back, with res.send or with res.json. Now, they might look kind of similar, but they have a key difference that is just incredibly important for modern applications.
First, you've got res.send. Think of this as the jack of all trades. It's super flexible and can send back pretty much anything, a simple line of text, a buffer of raw data, or even a whole chunk of HTML code for a browser to turn into a web page.
But then we have res.json, and this one's the specialist. It's designed to do one thing and do it perfectly. Send data in JSON format. And this is the universal standard for APIs because it makes sure the data is structured perfectly so that another computer program, like a mobile app or another server, can understand it and use it right away, no problem.
So let's bring it all home. At its very core, the interactive web is just a simple request-response conversation. We use a clear set of verbs, get, post, put, delete, that line up perfectly with how we manage data, creating, reading, updating, and deleting. We learned how to get specific, using path parameters to target one thing and query parameters to filter a whole list. And finally, we know how a server talks back, using res.json to send perfectly structured data for any modern app.
And that's it. You now get the fundamental grammar that powers the entire interactive web. You've decoded the secret language of requests and responses. So the only question left is, now that you can speak it, what conversation are you going to start? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.